Alright, today we're focusing on serves and service returns in doubles. First, some players receive with their forehand and others with their backhand. I recommend being aggressive with your forehand receive. The reason is, returning a hook serve to the short, wide forehand with your backhand is extremely awkward. With a backhand receive, it's hard to handle the side spin breaking away from you. But with your forehand, it's a different story. That's why when Haigu mentioned using a hook serve, I was thinking, if you serve it wide, your opponent will just loop it easily. A serve like that is very easy to attack. There are two main disadvantages to receiving with a backhand stance. First, it's very difficult to push the ball to the short, wide forehand corner from a backhand position. Second, it's tough to generate a quality backhand loop against a serve deep to your backhand. For instance, on a deep serve, your backhand loop is limited, unlike your forehand where you have a bigger backswing to generate power. However, the advantage of the backhand receive is its consistency. The forehand requires a larger swing, which makes it more prone to errors. So, whether you receive with your forehand or backhand should depend on your strengths. If you have a strong backhand, use it. If you have a strong forehand, use that. If you play with pips out rubber, you should receive with your pip side. If your opponent consistently serves with side spin breaking away from you, try to receive with your forehand. If the opponent primarily serves with side spin breaking into your body, you can confidently use your backhand. Again, because that side spin breaks away from you, it's very difficult to generate power on your backhand return. Okay, let's start by discussing the backhand service return. For a backhand receive in doubles, the key is to read your opponent's partner's positioning. For example, if their partner is positioned towards the backhand corner, you should aim your initial returns to their forehand or the middle of the table. If their partner stands in the middle, leaving the backhand line open, you should first pressure that wide backhand angle. That's the first tactical point. Second point, if your partner is receiving with a forehand stance, do not stand directly behind them, as you'll completely obstruct their movement. They won't be able to take a full swing because they'll feel you behind them. You must position yourself to their left, for two right-handers. When your opponent receives with their forehand, your follow-up shot should aim to pull them wide to their forehand. A common mistake here is just passively pushing the ball. That's not good enough. You need to create an angle or generate speed with your placement, not just return the ball. In doubles, the incoming player requires minimal footwork adjustments, allowing them to easily set up for the next shot. If your opponent uses a forehand receive, you can target the space that player is vacating as they move. For instance, after they receive and move, hit into the open court. As they recover from their next shot, you can attack that same spot again. Continuously attack the position of the player who just hit the ball. Many amateur players have poor transitions because of slow recovery, obstruction from their partner, an oversized backswing, or pausing after their shot. When receiving, you must always assess the opponent's positioning. Some pairs will stand very far from the table, often because they lack coordination. Against this positioning, use short pushes, soft touches, or half-long serves to draw them in. If a pair stands very close to the table, you should try to serve long and fast to jam them. This prevents the next player from having enough space for a full backswing. Even if they manage a block, the quality of their return will be low. Doubles is all about teamwork and coordination. Now, let's focus on receiving from a backhand stance. From a backhand stance, the most difficult serves to handle are those to the short forehand corner and deep near the center line. I primarily use a forehand receive, so I don't use my backhand as much. But from my experience, those two spots are the toughest. So, when you receive, you can't stand square to the table. You must have a diagonal stance, that's the first rule. Second, the main goal in doubles is to get the ball on the table. So, on a short serve that you might power flick in singles, in doubles you should focus on a push flick, keeping the backswing compact and ensuring it lands in. Consistency is key. In doubles, too many first ball errors will put immense pressure on your partner. So, I advise adopting a more conservative approach to your service returns. Your job is to control the opponent's placement, identify weaknesses in their positioning or movement, and exploit them. It's not about hitting a winner, because their partner is already in position and can easily block your powerful shot. In doubles, a long side spin underspin serve can be quite difficult to handle. For instance, if you use a backhand stance to receive in doubles, deep side backspin serves become tougher to loop, as we're accustomed to taking those from the singles backhand position. When you switch to this spot, it's easy to mistime the ball and struggle to generate power. In this situation, loop if you can, but if you're making too many errors, just push it back. Think about it, If they serve fast and you return slow with a push, won't that disrupt the next player's rhythm? You must learn to vary the rhythm of the rally. Typically, we return a fast serve with a fast ball, and a slow serve with a slow ball. Why is it awkward to play with a pips-out player? Because the spin on their return is unpredictable. The opponent might miss, but if they return it, the ball feels very strange. It's hard to read the spin, and the rhythm is off. So when your opponent serves a fast underspin, you don't need to rush your push. If they serve fast, you push slow. If they serve slow, you push fast. By creating this tempo difference, you'll disrupt their partner, who is preparing to attack based on the server's rhythm. They communicate with hand signals about the serve speed and spin, so the partner is prepared. If your return doesn't match their expectation, they're more likely to make an error. Receiving from a backhand stance makes it difficult to attack. If you can't loop it effectively, push deep to their backhand to force a pushed return. This gives your partner a simpler ball to attack. Third point, in doubles receive, there's less lateral movement. You just need to cover front and back. Therefore, for a backhand receive, your right foot should be forward. The reason Haige couldn't move in for the short ball was because his left foot was forward. With your left foot forward, you can't step in. But with your right foot forward, you can easily move in for a short serve. Let's talk about the mental aspect of doubles. Before the point, communicate with your partner and state your intentions. For example, I tend to miss my flicks on this serve, so I'm going to push it to control the placement. It might pop up, so be ready to defend. The worst thing in doubles is blaming each other. If you pop the ball up and your partner gives you a look, it's over. Communicate your tactics, like, I'm going to pressure their backhand, so you cover the cross-court angle. Or, I'm going to push this one fast, be ready for the next ball. Or tell them, if they serve no spin, my push might be high, so step back a bit to defend. You must talk to your partner. If you don't communicate, the pressure on you as the receiver becomes immense. When I played doubles, I would often tell my partner, don't worry, just get it on the table, I've got your back. Even if I couldn't, it built their confidence. If you demand, you have to attack the serve, 80% of the time they'll miss. So you need to have good chemistry and communication. Tell them your plan and what to do next. For instance, when receiving, I use hand signals behind my back to tell my partner I'm aiming for a long return to their backhand. Or I'll signal a short return to their forehand. This signal means I'm going to attack, so he should prepare for a topspin rally. Don't just stand there celebrating, nice shot, after I loop. I always signal my intended placement, long or short. If I signal a return here, he'll prepare to cover the cross-court. If I signal over there, he'll move to cover the forehand side. You can't just receive to wherever you feel like. Many players return the ball right into the opponent's hitting zone, allowing for an easy attack. If your partner is weak at defending their forehand, you can't keep feeding the opponent's forehand. You two must have a coordinated plan. For instance, if you want your partner to get a backhand shot, you should return the serve wide to the opponent's backhand. They will most likely return it back to that side, giving your partner the opportunity. Then your partner can be ready and waiting. This is the result of good communication. If you don't know hand signals, practice them with your partner. You develop them over time and can make up whatever signals work for you. You can have signals for backhand long, backhand short, forehand short, and 1-4, I'm attacking. You should be talking strategy while picking up the ball. I'm serving short to the forehand. They might flick it, so slow your tempo on the return, aim for the middle, and I'll take the next shot. You can't have one person fetching the ball while the other just stands there like royalty, waiting to be handed the ball. And then, whack, serving it with zero communication. That's just not gonna fly. Nobody will want to be your partner. You also need to tell your partner your weaknesses. I'm not good at returning long serves. Your partner can then say, okay, just push it to their backhand, get out of the way quickly, and I'll cover the return. You need this kind of dialogue. Next, let's cover the forehand service return, which is primarily for attacking. For example, if the serve goes long, I will always loop it. Most amateur serves end up being half long anyway. So for doubles receive, keep your racket over the table, always ready to execute an attacking shot. Even though my forehand isn't as good as my backhand, I used a forehand receive at the professional level because it can generate a higher quality return. I'm always looking for that half-long ball. If the first bounce is near the middle of the table, I will loop it, never push. It's the easiest ball to loop, especially since you're already positioned there. That's the first point. The second point is the short ball. When they serve short, it's very easy to control the down-the-line placement with your push. In my opinion, an aggressive, forehand-oriented receive is the most logical approach. When you receive from this position, the difficulty of looping the ball is significantly reduced. The moment you see a half-long serve, prepare for a short ball first. When you confirm it's going long, immediately transition from a push-ready stance to a looping motion. Even if you start to push, you have time to switch to a loop. Attacking the half-long ball is a very effective technique. The first key to the half-long return is to keep your racket low, close to the table surface. The first rule for returning a half-long serve is that your backswing must not go behind your body. Do not pull your arm back. The second key is to use forward momentum and accelerate through the second half of your swing. It's an active stroke where you generate your own power. So, when returning the serve, should we make contact on the rise or after the peak? In singles, it's often better to loop the ball just as it starts to drop after its peak. However, in doubles, I recommend you attack it earlier, right on the rise. Because you don't need to adjust your footwork, you can often win the point outright with this shot. As long as you make a solid loop, it will be very difficult for their partner to block. It's a compact motion, accelerating through contact, driven mainly by the forearm. This is one of the easiest ways to score a point. Because after a few successful attacks, the server will get nervous. The more they try to serve short, the tighter their hand gets, and the more likely the serve will go long. If you loop just 2 of their serves successfully, they'll be hesitant for the rest of their service game. Second, it's hard to control the trajectory of the serve in doubles because very few people practice serving from the forehand side. If the serve is high, you should flick it. For example, on a short ball, even if it has underspin, you can still flick it if the bounce is high enough. If the serve is short and high, flick it immediately. My flick here is actually quite conservative. In a real doubles match, I'd be more aggressive, because I don't have to move. It's not like singles where I might not be able to reach it. You can flick an underspin serve because you're contacting it at the peak of the bounce. Any short ball is easier to handle at its peak. It's just that in singles, you're often out of position to get there in time. As long as the serve is high, lock your wrist and drive forward. When you find that high point over the table, be confident and generate speed. If you can't flick, at least execute a forward punch or push. It's much better than a passive push. If you just push it back, they'll push it right back to you. Keep your wrist firm and push forward with your forearm. The next player will have a very hard time dealing with that ball. Because you've changed the pace and spin. They served a slow ball, and you returned a fast one. That change in rhythm is very difficult to handle. Okay, let's talk about returning the long serve. The first issue is your distance from the table. In doubles, you can't stand as far back as you would in singles. If you're too far back, you'll be vulnerable to a short serve. You should position yourself about 1 arm's length from the table. Second, if you plan to attack with your forehand, your body should be positioned to your left side. Don't stand with your body on the right side. That creates a huge weakness. Someone just asked what to do against a player with a strong forehand attack. Look at their stance. Position your body on the left side of the table, place your right foot on the forehand side, and keep your hand in front of you. This way, you're ready to loop any long serve. Hi, good, just served 3 side spin underspins and 1 side spin topspin. But why was it not that difficult to return? First, my racket was very close to the ball. Second, I had enough lateral space to swing. Notice I'm looping sideways, not pulling my arm straight back. Many players stand completely on the forehand side to give their partner space, but you must create that lateral room for your own swing. Don't worry about serves to the short, wide corner. In doubles, the angle isn't that extreme. As long as you clear space with your footwork, you can loop it. If you stand with your right foot in the way, the server will aim right at it, and you'll be jamming yourself. Third, if they serve a fast ball, you must use their pace on your return. Many players try to hit a winner off a fast serve, trying to overpower it. That's a habit from singles. Doubles is about outlasting your opponent, so be more controlled on your return. Feel the ball on your racket and use their power. No matter how they serve, use their pace and don't rush your backswing. You're already in position. At the professional level, nobody serves long, because the return comes back before you can recover. Long serves are very easy to return. Just don't rush your backswing. Maintain a doubles mindset. You're right there, so don't panic. You can wait for the ball to bounce before you start your swing and still have plenty of time. No need for a huge wind-up or maximum power. Just focus on solid contact. This method works for both sidespin topspin and sidespin underspin serves. Now, when it's your turn to serve, you need to analyze whether your opponent prefers to receive with their backhand or forehand. A player who uses a forehand receive is usually weak in two spots: short balls near the centerline and deep balls near the centerline. Serve to these two spots repeatedly. Aim for that line. Never serve to their comfortable hitting zone. If they can loop it freely, your partner won't have time to react. Second, use serves with sidespin breaking into their body. For a righty, a left sidespin serve will jam them. If you serve with right sidespin, it breaks right into their forehand loop, making it easy for them to attack. The most difficult serve in doubles is a very low no-spin or light spin serve. It prevents the receiver from using your pace, giving your partner an opportunity to attack the next ball. Against a backhand receiver, you should first serve with right sidespin to their short forehand corner. Second, jam them by serving deep to their body, because every backhand is vulnerable to being jammed. So if your opponent favors a backhand receive, you can confidently serve with right sidespin deep to their baseline and sidelines, using a hook serve or a backhand serve. This kind of serve is very difficult for them to return effectively. A backhand receive is weakest against serves to the sidelines and the baseline. A forehand receive is weakest against serves to the middle, long or short, and left sidespin serves. But the most important thing to succeed in doubles is constant communication with your partner. Talk during timeouts and when picking up the ball. Tell them what you're struggling with and what you need from them. For example, if you want your partner to loop, tell them, "Push the next return short to set me up." If you want to start a topspin rally, tell them, "Flick the first ball to initiate an attack." One more thing, do you know what the hardest ball to attack in doubles is? It's the return that comes back after your partner has served with very heavy spin. Because the spin on that ball was generated by your partner, not you, it's very hard to judge. So, if you want to be the one to attack, tell your partner to serve with less spin, a no spin or a fast serve. This makes the return simpler and less erratic. For instance, if I want to loop with heavy topspin, I'll ask my partner to serve underspin. Don't have them serve with complex, tricky spin. The opponent's touch will turn it into a weird sidespin ball that's very difficult for you to loop. However, if your game plan is defensive and you want to force an error from the receiver, then by all means, tell your partner to serve with the heaviest spin possible. If I want to flat hit the third ball, I'll ask my partner to serve no spin to get a passive, high return. When you plan to attack, have your partner serve a simpler ball. When you plan to push or defend, then have them use their most deceptive, tricky serves.